man. This is the stupidest, dumbest idea I've ever had. I can't believe how stupid I am today. Hey, it's the fam. How are you? Oh, I guess you're here for your day 18 through 22 assignment. 18 through 22? What? It's true. 18 through 22 in one shot. So you know it's big. Now I'm going to say 2 words, and I want everybody to calm down. Okay? Here come your 2 words. Metric modulation. Calm down. Metric modulation. 2 words that get every drummer frothy. Calm down. Now, there are also 2 words that every drummer, not every drummer, but the majority of drummers don't understand. And those 2 words are metric modulation. Now, metric modulation, what is it? Why do we use it? How do you decipher it? How do you figure it out? How do you appreciate it? And then how do you actually also teach other people, if you're an educator, what a metric modulation is? Now, I'm going to leave this up. This is going to be a hell of a knowledge drop, all right? I'm going to clear up a bunch of crap. And also, you have to do me a favor. Lower your fists and accept that you may be thinking of metric modulations incorrectly, like a lot of drummers do, okay? Now, metric modulation, metric meaning a unit, a measure of time, and modulation, which means manipulation. So we're manipulating time. That's what a metric modulation is. Now, a metric modulation also means you start off in one time signature and tempo, and you're moving to another, or it could be the same time signature, but definitely a different tempo. Now, the thing is that there's a relationship between those 2. The relationship is that in the first tempo and time signature, you are taking either a note value, a subdivision, or a group of subdivisions. And you are taking that and you are making that the primary beat in the new time signature and tempo. So it was a direct metric relationship. So you have a metric modulation, all right? That's basically what it is. Now you are going to need Groove Essentials number 1, and you're going to go all the way to the back of the book, and you're going to go to a song called Endure. So you got to go Groove Essentials number 1, and you are going to go to Global Tour 4. This is on page 120. 120 pages? What book has 120 pages? Groove Essentials does. Endure, this book. And this is written as a tribute to one of my favorite musicians, this African legend named Youssou N'Dour. If you don't know who that is, please go check out his music. Absolutely unbelievable. Tons of metric modulations that'll just blow your head off. And so this is called Endure. I actually wrote this for the 2002 Modern Drummer Festival. All right. Now, the first metric modulation, this has a lot of metric modulations in it. Now, you'll see on the video program, you'll see me playing it. And you'll be able to hear the music, but we're going to discuss it like you've never seen this before. Maybe somebody who just got the book wants to dive into this, and this piece looks like Mount Everest, so I'm going to knock it down to a little bit more of a bite-size challenge. So looking at letter B, okay, so here's your first metric modulation. You're going into letter B right here, all right? So you're going through here's all the 6/8 stuff, you know, with little cymbal stuff. It looks like rest, but you're just kind of ad-libbing on the cymbals. And then you get over here. This is 2 before letter B, all right? And that's your first metric modulation. And the thing that you need to look for is the modulation matrix, which is right there. That's the modulation matrix right there. Every properly written metric modulation will have a matrix that you are going to look at. And that matrix gives you the formula. It's kind of like a time signature, where a time signature tells you the beats per measure and what note gets 1 beat. This matrix tells you exactly how to deal with where you were to where you're going. All right. Now, on this first one, you'll see it is a dotted eighth equals a quarter. All right. Let me put it up to you so you can see it a little bit bigger. A dotted eighth equals a quarter. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that we were in 6/8. We're starting at 6/8, and we find the dotted eighth note, and that dotted eighth note becomes the quarter note in 4/4. And then you're off and running. And of course, just to make it more interesting, the modulation, when it happens, and this is why we all get paid $1 million, drummers, it's a drum solo. So the modulation is really on the drummer to set up for the rest of the band. That's a cold modulation that goes right on the drums, and drums set that up. You have 2 bars to set up a shuffle in 4/4, coming off the modulation from the 6/8 before. Now remember, if anything I'm saying to you sounds like indecipherable Greek, you are going to go back and listen to this many times. Look at what I'm saying. Everything I'm saying here is a complete thought. Everything you need is going to be in this lesson, though the first time you go through it, you may not understand it all. but you will go back and you will listen and watch and hear what I say and repeat as many times as necessary. Now, the reason you may be confused is because we haven't put it with music yet, which we're going to do right now. All right, so let's listen to it musically and kind of bring this whole thought together on metric modulations. Now, the first thing we need to know is, of course, where we are starting and where we're going. That's the whole thing with metric modulations. Where you're starting and where you're going. Now, we're starting in 6/8, okay? Let's find that pulse in 6/8.
4 bars up front and 6/8.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, hear that little African groove on the bells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. All right, now we have that beat. We know what it is. Now you find the dotted eighth note on top of that. So let's see what that dotted eighth note would be. I'll sing it. Ready? 1, 2, and 4, 5, and 1, 2, and 4, 5, and. So it's 1, 2, and 4, 5, and. The and of 2, the and of 5, and the downbeat of 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and Now, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, wow, that's a 2/3 polyrhythm. And you're right, but that's not what we're talking about right now. It just happens to be a 2/3 polyrhythm. Polyrhythms are not metric modulations. They're completely different things. They often get put together and saying you're modulating or no. A metric modulation is when you completely leave and abandon the first thing you were doing and now go to another thing, completely related, but you have left the other thing behind. Now you can go back to the other thing, as we're going to do soon in Endure, okay? But you have to know that there are two different destinations. Polyrhythms are rhythms that are laid on top of each other at the same time, all right? So when you find that rhythm, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see how I was moving between those two. It was modulating between the two of them. Now, we see the matrix, right? There's your matrix. One more time. Dotted eighth equals quarter. Now let's listen to the matrix. Let's listen to the modulation with the music, okay? All right, here we go. $12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 2. All right. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dot, 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 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you modulate. You take the dotted eighth and you modulate to make it a quarter note. All right. Now, further on in the piece, coming off these whole notes that decrescendo, the next thing you see is another modulation matrix. So what does that one say? It's the reverse of what we had. Okay. So we go the other way. All right. A quarter note in 4/4 now equals the dotted eighth in 6/8. We're going back to where we came from. Now remember, metric modulations are always directly related. Okay. If they're not related, they are not modulations. They are tempo changes. I'm going to say that again. Metric modulations always have a mathematical relationship to either side of the equation. There's a formula. There's a mathematical formula going on. If there isn't, that's a tempo change. It could be also a time signature change, but it's not a metric modulation. Do you understand? There's a mathematical relationship between the two. And there's nothing wrong with just doing a tempo change. You just make a cold tempo change. So you're playing a funk groove, and you go, and then all of a sudden you just go, and it's completely unrelated. That's a tempo change. It's groove shift. It's not a metric modulation. Metric modulation, the words get thrown around because people don't know. They have this need to call things something. And sometimes things are just tempo shifts. And they're just time signature shifts. Those are not metric modulations. Metric modulations have a mathematical relationship to the place you came from, to the place you're going. Got it? Okay? So that's one of the reasons I'm going to leave this up forever. So if you ever get into a debate or people get confused over what it is, this will be there for you guys to go to so you can use it as a resource. All right? Understand? So some people say there's an unrelated metric modulation. There is no such thing as an unrelated metric modulation. That's called a tempo change. Okay? That's called a groove shift, a time signature shift. So remember drummers have name-itis, like we have to call things something every time? Some things are just shifts. Some things just shift. That's all it is. It doesn't have a name. A metric modulation has a mathematical relationship. Now, there's one more modulation in this tune, all right? And this is a little bit more sophisticated than the one that I just showed you, which was the dotted eighth a quarter, all right? And that modulation happens going into letter F, okay? Now I'm going to show you what this one is, okay? And it's a little bit different, a little bit weirder, okay? And it is this modulation here, if you look at letter F, okay? So letter F, one more time, the matrix. Let's look at the matrix. There's the matrix, okay? An eighth note triplet equals a 16th note. Okay, now I wrote this, like, you know, I'm the composer, so I get to make all the decisions, just like all composers do. Okay, it's up to the player to parse the information that you're given. I decided to give a very small subdivision on this one because I wanted people to see the actual the granularity, to see how little the piece can get, all right? And there it is right there, okay? Eighth note triplet equals a 16th note. It's a very, very small subdivision shift. All right. Now, that's what it looks like here, written in pencil. Okay. Eighth note triplet equals 16th note. Now, to understand this metric modulation, you're going to see a bar 4/4. I'm going to do this little drill with you. Eighth note triplets in 4/4, and then 16th notes in 3/4. Okay. So these eighth note triplets are going to become these 16th notes. So the rate will not change. Remember, we have to know where we start and where we go. This is where we're starting with an eighth note triplet. This is where we're going with the 16th note. One triplet, two triplet, three triplet, four triplet. Okay? So now I'm going to do a little thing here. This will be kind of fun. Let's see if I can pull this off. Let's see, I need my tape. Where's my tape? There it is. I'm going to do this here. Can you see this? Let me see if I can just get this over here. There we go. There's that one. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to do a bar triplets. One triplet, two triplet, three triplet, four triplet. All right, I'll keep my quarter note over here so you can hear these two things, right? One triplet, two triplet, three triplet, four triplet. Count with me, right? One triplet, two triplet. Now we're going to go to 16th. Four triplet, one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, right? And that's in 3/4. So you'll notice for this drill, just so that we can see it, there are 12 notes in this first bar. There are 12 notes in the second bar. And the only thing that's going to change is our counting and the tempo. All right, of course, the time signature changes from 4 to 3. But keep your eye on here and notice how this doesn't change. So the eighth note triplet becomes a 16th. Here we go. One triplet, two triplet, three triplet, four triplet, one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, one triplet, two triplet, three triplet, four triplet, one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, Now, that's exactly what happens in that. If we listen to it, so now if we're listening to it here, all right, here's our quarter note. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Now here comes the change. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Okay? So you can see how the triplet became the 16th note. Okay? And then it goes back, just to make it even weirder. It goes back. There's the matrix going back the other way to the shuffle. Now, I've explained to you what metric modulations are. That's your day 18 assignment. 19, 20, 21, and 22 are going to be you practicing Endure all the way through, making all those metric modulations. And on the 22nd day, which will be 4 days from now for you, you will post your final awesome performance of this tune. Okay? So there it is. Endure. Metric modulations explained all the way through. You can look at my performance to get some ideas. But there's no running on metric modulations. You have to hit them cold. So now that you know what they are, you can participate in this tune and give me your rendition of my composition from 2002. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.